seed planted in stillness. I am the center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. I am the center of creation. I am a tree rooted in fullness. I am the center of creation, fertile ground for the highest thoughts of God. I am the center of creation.
I know what's behind that smile. I know you're tired. Spend your life trying to be everything to everyone. And I know that look in your eyes, 'cause I've seen it in the mirror 1,000 times. That's the face of a woman who doesn't understand how much she's loved. And then the TV tells me I should be like her, achieve like her, to earn the affection I so desperately need. But the people who love me best don't expect me to save the world. No, they regard me as a goddess and they always give me love for free. And they say, you are what you are, and that's all you ever need. Fierce like a warrior, and soft as a sunbeam.
Thank you so much, New Thought Messengers. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning to all of you here. Good morning to those of you online. Welcome to the New Thought Center for Spiritual Living. Oh, hi, Sam. It's good to see you, my brother friend. Oh, it's so lovely to have all of us together in this place, in this time. I am Shannon O'Hurley. I get to be the senior minister here in our beloved community, something that is the great honor of my life. I want to welcome everyone here, and those of you who are new or newish, know that we are an inclusive, progressive, and compassionate spiritual community that is dedicated to doing our own inner work and walking that out into the world to help make this world a better place for all people everywhere. I want to take a moment and share our vision and our mission. We like to do this on Sunday mornings. Feel free to join in if you like. Our vision, recognizing our oneness, we envision a world that works for everyone and all creation. And our mission, providing spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. I invite all of us to take a deep breath. This is the time when we acknowledge that we are on the ancestral land of the Kalapuya people, and we affirm indigenous history, experiences, and sovereignty. I would love it if y'all would turn around and just wave to our beloveds, our community at home. We're all over the country, and where you are watching from, we love you and know that you are here with us in this sacred time. You will notice that we have a different setup today. This is a very special service. Those of you who are here for the first time know that this is not our usual. We do this maybe 3 or 4 times a year at the most. So it's just a fun opportunity to kind of talk together. It is like a talk, but done through a sort of question and answer format. So know that that's what's coming up. And I would like to, at this point, invite our practitioner and ministerial student, Shelley Walker, to come up and give us our opening blessing.
Thank you, Reverend Shannon. Please join me as we anchor this time together in love. Allowing the breath to be a vehicle for your body to rest, for that brilliant mind to rest. In the remembrance of the glory of the one love that is everywhere present, there is a beneficial presence everywhere present. It goes by many names. I call it spirit, I call it love, I call it ohana, I call it peace that passes all understanding. But whatever name we give this presence, it is infinite in its scope, and it is love expressing everywhere. And so because this love is infinite, I know that it is right where I am, right where we are, love is. And it is this love that creates a bed of safety, of peace, of joy, upon which we rest. And so I am so grateful this day to be part of a community that glorifies this activity of the divine. To be a part of a community that knows that love is everywhere present, and we celebrate that love. And so I bless all that we are about this day, the incredible music, the wonderful talk with Reverend Shannon, the children, the volunteers, all that we are about this day, I know is blessed. And I know it is so because love has deemed this a day for itself. For this, I am so deeply grateful. We let it all be. Blessed, blessed be. And so it is. And so now we're going to move more deeply into our spiritual practice with a song, a chant. And this beautiful song, if you don't already know it, it's so easy to learn. We light this candle as a remembrance that this light, this love that we were just talking about, it's everywhere present. And it's right where we are. And so we're going to let that love be the way this day. I invite you to stand as you're able. You at home, I invite you to lift your voice with us so you can hear yourself sing truth this day. Brian.
Let the peace wash over us.
We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let
The
peace wash over.
Let the joy wash over us.
We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy wash over.
And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Brian Harris. And now I'd like to invite beautiful practitioner Helen to do our sacred reading.
Good morning. The reading this morning is from the book we've been using all month, Wild Mercy, Living the Fierce and Tender Wisdom of the Women Mystics by Mirabai Starr. Here, come here. Take a moment to set aside that list you've been writing in fluorescent ink, the list that converts tasks into emergencies. Gather your burdens in a basket in your heart and set them at the feet of the Mother. Say, take this, great Mama, because I cannot carry it all of this for another minute. And then crawl into her broad lap and take a nap. Because when you wake, the basket will still be there, but half its contents will be gone, and the other half will have resumed their ordinary shapes and sizes, no longer masquerading as catastrophic, epic, chronic, and toxic. The mother will take your compulsions and transmute them, but only if you freely offer them to her.
Thank you, Helen. That was lovely. And funny. I like that. Well, I heard people talking about a place where it's all right to be yourself, where the light shines a little bit brighter, and there's always plenty wisdom in the well. That's where I wanna live. That's where I wanna live. Well, the past's gonna seem a little clearer. No man stumbling stones in the way. Who you're seeing when you're looking in the mirror, you're gonna like a little better every day. Yeah, so that's where I wanna live.
That's where I wanna spend every day.
That's where I wanna live. All you really need to get there is faith and a strong desire. Even if you're down at the bottom, you just reach out your hand, let the one with the plan pull you out of the muck and the mire. Angie Spinelli. I'm packing up all my old baggage, going down to the riverside, gonna throw it all into the water, and then jump on that peace train and ride. I said that's where I wanna live. Yeah, I said that's where I wanna live.
Brian Harris and the New Thought Messengers. That's where I want to live. I want to just do like another whole hour of just that. That's where. Okay. Hello. Can you tell I was on vacation? A little pep in my step. Gosh, it's good to be back. I want to first thank practitioner and ministerial student Shelley Walker for the incredible talks that she gave while I was in Japan, learning all the things. I can't wait to bring it to you, the Japanese wisdom, the culture, the history, the spirituality. Oh, it's profound and deep, and it's still working in me. I can't wait to share it with you. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a bit of a different kind of talk today. It's in the question-answer format, and we shall see. So I would like to invite Shelley up. She has some questions for me, and you know, I know many of you have been following along in this series on the female mystics. We did this for Women's History Month. Many of you have been following along in the book, but fear not. If this is your first time, don't worry, we've got you. It'll all make sense, I promise. So hi, you.
Hi, I'm so happy to see your face. I'm so glad you're back.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be back. Can you all see? If you can't, we've got a nice big spiritual practice candle here that is like the size of my head. So you might want to go like that. Maybe not. That's fine too. Hi.
Well, Reverend Shannon,
Yes.
as you mentioned,
Yes.
March being Women's History Month, and we dedicated it to the study of this book, Wild Mercy, Living the Fierce and Tender Wisdom of the Women Mystics, which has been life-changing for me personally. And I'm wondering about what your inspiration was for choosing this as our way of celebrating Women's History Month.
Yes. So, Women's History Month is always an opportunity to, to dive into the wisdom of women in the history and all that that they have brought. And I will say, since it's just us, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, like many of you, I felt gutted. And I recognized that there is an opportunity to look at the wisdom of the ancient mystics. That phrase, draconian law, kept coming up over and over and over again. Draco was this man who in ancient Greece, created a set of laws that were brutal, that were painful for the people of that time. And so for me personally, I thought, well, there were women mystics, women of history, women of mystics who lived through that true draconian time. And there is so much wisdom there that we can pull from and that we can glean from, this timeless ancient wisdom. And I thought to myself, my golly, if they lived through that, hey, we're fine. So that's really why I chose to really look at the wisdom of the mystics for this particular year, this particular month of women's history. To have a mystical experience is actually very simple. It's made out to be this big woo-woo thing. There's nothing woo-woo about it at all. It simply means a personal and direct experience of the divine without any intermediary. So not a traditional ritual or an intermediary like a priest. If some of you grew up in the Catholic tradition, a mystical experience is simply an experience that we have all had, every single one of us, when we fall in love. When a child is born, that moment of awe when we look at the ocean or the trees, when we're sitting around our dining room table and we're laughing till we're crying and time stops for that moment. That's God, that's the divine, that's spirit, that's source energy, that is a mystical experience. And so really, the whole point of this book, the whole point of this month, we're going to, I'm sure, get into more of the sort of divine feminine and sacred masculine and where the twain shall meet. But the point is, every one of us has had mystical experiences, and logic then follows that every one of us at the core of our being is a mystic. Yeah. Every single one of us. It is not for the chosen few. It's for all of us. And when we can step into that energy field, it shifts everything. It shifts the way we think about the divine or God or source, whatever word works for you. It shifts it all. And so really that was the impetus for this series.
Well, let's get into that then, Reverend Shannon.
Okay.
And very early in the book, this is from page 2. And when I read this the first time, I was sitting on an airplane, and I'm just sitting there with tears just pouring down my face. The poor, people sitting next to me. I apologize, strangers. But this really spoke to me, Reverend Shannon. She said, women do not always feel comfy inside traditional religious institutions. That's probably because the architecture of the world's organized religions have been designed largely by and for men. However, increasing numbers of men, secure in their positions of privilege, are voluntarily abdicating their power, for example, by calling God she from the pulpit. The alienation of the feminine is obvious to them. Starr continues, the secret is out. The pain has grown too urgent to ignore. The earth is cracking open, and the women are rising, demanding justice from the tyrants and activating a paradigm shift such as the world has never seen. She writes, across faith traditions, women are being initiated, ordained, and sanctioned as rabbis and acharyas, priests and priestesses, ministers and morshidas, lamas and shamans. We are disrupting the balance of power and reorganizing the conversation. So, Reverend Shannon, can you please speak to what it means to bring the divine feminine back into balance? Why is it important? And how do we balance the sacred masculine at the same time, which also brings its own gifts?
Yes. Are you ready? So, firstly, I just want to, that line about religious institutions being historically for men, made by men. I want to share with you, I grew up Catholic, and I remember my first communion, second grade, kneeling in the pew, and I remember having a numinous mystical experience. I was in the church, and I was feeling all of the ritual, and I was feeling it in my bones, and I was feeling spirit or God. It was nonverbal at that point. I couldn't really name it, but I felt it. And as I looked up, I saw that there was no female on the pulpit anywhere. And I want to start by saying I have enormous privilege. I'm a cis white woman. And there was zero representation for my 7-year-old little girl. And I remember thinking to myself, I want this, but there is no path for me here.
Yeah.
I want to know this more. I want to understand this more, but there was literally no avenue. I remember right after church, we were standing outside, and some of you may have heard this story. I'm standing there with my dad, and one of his friends just lovingly and kindly says, and what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, a priest. It was a circuitous route finding my way here, love. And I'm so grateful for the tradition that we are in, that, of course, is, ordains women. That's not to say that I haven't had my fair share of experiencing unskilled moments and sexism within it. I have. And I stand firm in the knowing that it is literally coming up to be released. And so I just want to start there. And I'm so grateful for our tradition, for our progressive, inclusive, and compassionate community, and for all that we do here for everyone, for all people. As far as how do we bring the feminine back, let's first define what the divine feminine is. The divine feminine and the sacred masculine, if you will, has nothing to do with a woman and a man. Can we be clear? These are simply attributes that are available for all of us and that ideally we all embody. However, in the society that we live in, often those who walk in female bodies and those who walk in male bodies can sometimes lean heavy in one or the other. The goal here, and I'm going to get to this later, is the balance and the alignment of both the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. That is how we will have peace on earth.
Yes.
That is how that is going to happen. So what is the divine feminine? The divine feminine is basically defined as an aggregate of qualities. The divine feminine are qualities like mercy, which is, of course, what Mirabai titles her book. The divine feminine is mercy, is compassion, it's tendencies towards inclusivity and nurturing and building community and being heart-centered and encouraging embodied experiences. This is the divine feminine that is available in all of us. The sacred masculine are glorious traits like assertiveness and logic and healthy boundaries and transcendence. This too is available in all of us. You know, in ancient Tibetan Buddhism, it's so beautiful. There is a female Buddha deity and there is a male Buddha deity. And for thousands of years, the male students or practitioners of Buddhism would pray to a female Buddha to embody the qualities of the female Buddha to achieve alignment and wholeness and balance. And the same was true of the women practitioners and students of Buddhism. They would pray to the male Buddha in order to embody the divine masculine traits. And so this is ancient wisdom. This isn't, this is ancient wisdom for all of us. And it's designed in order to bring our world into balance. So this is one of the, key reasons why it's so important to align and to usher in once again the divine feminine. One of the stories that I love about the Buddha, and Mirabai mentions this, she mentions that he had Buddhist nuns. What she doesn't talk about in her book is that originally he did not have Buddhist nuns, and his aunt, who was so devoted, came to him one day, aunt or aunt, depending on where in the country you live, came to him one day and said, "I want in. I want to be a Buddhist nun. I want you to let me do that." And the Buddha himself said, with all the love in his heart, "Thank you, but that's not what we do." He was a man, remember, he was a human being in the culture that he was raised in. It was his first idea. His aunt just kept coming back. She would not give up. She was relentless. She just kept coming back. At one point, she shaved her head and she adorned the robes. And finally, the Buddha said, "Well, okay, I guess this is going to happen." She kind of went, "Yeah, it is," and therein began this incredible tradition. So again, it's having an enormous amount of compassion for the time that we live in and understanding that while this may be difficult and challenging, just as it probably was for the Buddha, that's okay. We get to keep showing up. We get to keep knocking on the door and together usher in this time.
Together.
Yeah,
I love that.
together.
Reverend Shannon, we've spent, as you're aware, a lot of time this month talking about our spiritual practice. Yes. And I really love this quote from page 26 of the book. She says, "Contemplative life is not for the timid. It's scary to be quiet, and it takes courage to be still. No one could be expected to sit on the battlefield of their own mind without being armed with the sword of unconditional truth in one hand and the sword of unconditional love in the other." I really love this idea of having a tool in one hand that cuts through the BS of our thinking. Because there can be a lot of that in here. Yes. I don't know about you. And then a tool on the other that armors ourselves in unconditional love. I love this idea. And that being said, I'm really struck by how often images of war are used, even when we talk about our spiritual practice. Why is it a battle? Why do we couch our spiritual practice in those terms, Rev?
I love that question. Anybody can relate? I want to start by saying that for me, when I first began my spiritual practice of meditation, I would sit in the chair, and within 30 seconds, of getting quiet, I would bolt up. There was such a battle going on in there.
For sure.
There was so much happening in there. I knew that as soon as I got quiet and really listened to my soul speak, that everything in my life would change, that the masks that I was wearing would have to come off. And so I want to preface it by saying I understand that spiritual practice, doing our work, as we say, any kind of work, whether it's having a spiritual practice daily or doing our shadow work or whatever it may be, that it can feel like sometimes a battle. So start with that over here. And then historically, one of the reasons why it's always talked about is throughout history. The mother of all religions in Hinduism. It literally, the story of Arjuna takes place on a battlefield, of Krishna. He literally is at war, and there's all these characters on this battlefield, but really he's at war with himself, the aspects of himself that he is working to heal, his trauma, his bias, all of those things, his lack of self-worth. And it occurs on a battlefield. Then you go to, you go forward to the Buddha. He sits under the Bodhi tree to receive enlightenment, and he is what? He is faced with demons, as they call them in the story. He closes his eyes, and he has to battle the world of effect around him so he can stay in his truth, so he can overcome all of that. I talked a few weeks ago about Jacob and the angel who wrestles in the dark, and he's wrestling those parts of himself. And it is that wrestle, it is that fight. And so you see these historically throughout history, even in the Tao, you have this metaphor, because it can often feel that way. It can often feel that way. You spoke so beautifully last week, Shelley, about when we have our spiritual practice and how Teresa of Avila would go and talks about, the first stage is going and pulling up the water from the well and sloshing it along the way and then pouring it into the garden, and then it gets easier each time, and then finally in the fourth stage there's irrigation, it gets easier. So what I would say to that and to anyone, if your spiritual practice or your inner work or even your social justice work, we do so much of that here, can feel tenuous, can feel like a struggle or a challenge or a battle, what I want you to know from my heart is that feeling does not stay. If you can just sit for starting with 5 minutes, and for you seasoned meditators, if you're at 30 minutes, if you can sit for 35, over time, if you can up your consistency, maybe if you're already meditating every day, try doing it twice a day. What happens is that battle, it dissipates, and it becomes an absolute joy. It's literally a journey from battle, fight, to this open-handed, open-hearted joy of sitting in that chair, and the timer goes off and you're like, no, I want to stay longer in this yumminess. So I think that's just, part of this human evolution and part of the journey, and I invite you into it. It gets so much easier. I speak from experience.
It's wisdom. Thank you, Reverend Shannon. All right, about on page 47.
Ooh, we're progressing.
We're getting there. We're not going to get nearly as far through the book as we would. She writes, acceptance means being with things as they are, not turning away and not trying to shape them to our will. This renders it possible to make of our pain an offering of love. This blesses all ground as sacred ground. That really resonated with me. And one of the questions that I'm asked most often, especially in class settings, and I believe it's a big misconception that people have about our teaching, and it's this. People say, okay, so in New Thought, we're taught to turn away from the condition and focus on truth. And if we can just focus on truth enough, and I guess pray right, and get the 5 steps right, and cross our toes, I don't know. But if we can just do all the things right, then the condition will automatically change. And so can you explain this paradox between accepting all that is and turning away from conditions to remember the truth?
Yeah. It's interesting. What's coming to mind in this moment is our beloved men's group. We have a really beautiful men's group in this community who've gathered. How long, Christoph? How long have you gathered together in our men's group, would you say? 4 years. And it's every Saturday. During the pandemic, it was on Zoom, and it's also on Zoom now, but you meet once a month here in person. So this is a perfect example not only of the sacred masculine, of this group of men that are dedicated to eradicating toxic masculinity and doing their own work and going deep with, in a very real way, with what is up for them. It's an opportunity to acknowledge the challenge and the difficulty, and to, at the same time, do the work. It's a great example of this. In our teaching, we have this beautiful understanding of how universal law works. It's that difficulty and challenge, the Buddha talked about this, the suffering happens. That is part of living in this life. I am so sorry to tell you that. I wish I could say otherwise, but that is the truth. Sometimes life is hard. And we have these incredible tools in order to navigate. Now, you mentioned the word conditions. To turn away from the condition. A condition is really another word for a challenge, a difficulty, something that you are, I like to say, moving through or dealing with in a moment. So understand that it's very, very easy, not only in our teaching, but in sort of the world that we live in, to bypass what's really happening. It would be very easy to turn away from the conditions of the anti-LGBTQ laws. It would be very easy to just simply turn away from the condition of the disparity that happens in this country between those people of color and those who are white. It would be very easy to turn away from the condition of ableism and sizeism and the violence against trans women. It would be very easy to turn away from that condition and just pray it away. No, that is not what we are here to do. That is not how that works. That is magical thinking. That is ignorance. And that is very, very dangerous.
Yep.
What we are here to do is 100% look at that. Do not turn away. Look at that and ask, what is mine to do here? What can I do in my world? Number one, we pray.
That's right.
Number one, we pray. We know that prayer works. And as our teachers in New Thought taught, we pray and we do the work. So we pray about these situations, but we don't stay there. So we pray affirming the healing of it. We do the social justice work. We have a vibrant social justice ministry, our global collective. We have so much incredible beauty and work that is happening here in this community. We do our work. And here is the thing. If we simply turn away from the condition, do you turn away from poverty? Of course. How is that going to eradicate poverty? It is not. We look at it. We say, what is mine to do? We pray and we do the work. One of the things I think that was a huge misunderstanding early on in our teaching is that if you turn away from the condition, if you simply turn away from the condition and pray, that's all you need to do. That dismisses those people who, let's say, are living in poverty. Completely dismisses them, right? At the same time, and this is the paradox. The turning away from the condition is also very wise. But it's in the formula. It's not the only aspect of the formula. Because if we stay in the despair and the fear and the anger and the rage, that is what will grow.
Yeah.
Do you see? That's what our metaphysical teaching teaches us. What we put out into the world returns to us multiplied abundantly. If we are putting out nothing but reaction and rage and anger at the injustice, that is exactly what will come back to us multiplied abundantly. However, set a timer. You've heard me say that how many times? Set a timer. Get mad, get angry, feel gutted, and then pray and move your feet. Do the work to support uplifting whatever it is, whatever draconian law needs to be changed.
One of the things that reading this book taught me was that the old way of religion was to transcend this life, but the mystics teach us to go into this life, and that's the difference I hear in
Yes,
that.
that's 100%. We're not going out, we're going in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we just have time for one more question. Rev.
Okay.
At the end of the chapter, she writes this beautiful piece on Tara or Tara. How do
Tara.
You, Tara. On Tara, who is the bodhisattva of compassion. And Mirabai Starr writes, we cannot and should not transmute the toxins of the prevailing paradigm inside the cells of our own individual bodies. I have been guilty of trying to do that. The alchemy happens in a circle. We need to weave together our threads of care and transfigure this tapestry. She said, it is only together that we can reimagine the territorial treaty we've inherited as a generous invitation to a communal feast. Look around. Your allies are everywhere, and they love you. So I'm struck by this idea of this communal feast. For those of us who have been trying to fix, all of the things here, that no, that's not how it works. It happens. Compassion is alchemy, and it happens in a circle.
Yes.
So I think the reason I was struck by this is, especially in these times where the pandemic and our modern family structures and our digital life, these things all serve to attempt to separate us. But here in community, we have this beautiful opportunity to set a feast. Yes. And I'm wondering, Reverend Shannon, I know that you have a vision for what that can look like in this community, right here, including our online community. Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, the communal feast. This is a communal feast right now, what we're having here and those online. Healing happens in community. For example, we know that addiction happens in isolation. We know that healing happens in community. And it's such a beautiful time, especially now, coming out of all that we've all been through, to be in community. And I know what it's like to walk into a church for the first time. I remember when I first found a New Thought church 100 years ago in Los Angeles. And for an entire year, I sat in the back row with one foot ready to bolt. And I really get that it takes a certain amount of courage, especially for those of us that are introverts. And especially for those of us who have healed any kind of religious wounding. It takes an enormous amount of courage to step into a spiritual community. And we use that word interchangeably. Some people like the word church, some people like spiritual community. Whatever works for you is great. It takes commitment to get online in time with your coffee and your jammies. It takes commitment to be here. And what I want to share with you is that for that first year, 100 years ago, when I sat in the back row, I cried every Sunday, and I went to the classes, and I did all the things, and I very slowly started. Some of you jump right in. Pam, wherever you are, on one of your first days, you brought muffins or whatever. Like there are those folks, and I love you so much, and we're not all like that. So wherever you are, wherever you fall into that, just know that this is a place of healing, that healing and truth happen here. I cried for a year when I first found this teaching. I had never in my life heard that the universe had my back. I did not know that there was a place for me as a female where I felt equanimity and I felt that I had a voice. I had never been in a spiritual community where my LGBTQ siblings were not only welcomed but embraced. That had not happened in my lifetime up until the point of finding this teaching. And so I share that with all of you simply because in this community, we grow, we heal, we move forward in our lives. And by that very experience, there is a ripple effect to everyone else in our lives, everyone we come into contact with. I am certain, for example, that you were very, very kind to those people on the plane as you were crying, as you were reading the book.
I was.
There is
I
a
shared the armrest.
Of course you were.
Very nicely.
Because there's a compassion. There is, I am going to say it, wokeness. The Buddha said the point of this life is to be awake.
Yeah.
We are here to be awakened and to stay awoke and to do all the work that follows that in this community together. You know, we're growing together. I want to share a passage really quickly from, it's the chapter on connectedness. Hold on, or connecting. Aha. Mirabai writes, are you ready? The time of the singular sage bestowing his unique wisdom is over. That was a method devised by the men in charge who sought to regulate wisdom. They taught us to suffer alone in the desert for 40 years, collecting our insights in a secret box labeled esoteric knowledge. Then we were supposed to dispense those insights stingily to those who proved themselves worthy by also suffering alone for the requisite 40 years in the desert. It turns out that this world is filled with special beings grappling our way through the anxiety of solitary conundrums and tasting the occasional reprieve of connection. When you realize this, your body lets out its breath and relaxes. The curse lifts. You come in from the cold. You hold out your cup, and some other special being fills it with sweet, milky tea spiced with fragrant herbs. Our way, the way of the feminine, is to find out what everyone is good at and praise them for it and get them to teach it to one another. Maybe you know something about the hidden meanings of the Hebrew letters, or how to build a sustainable home from recycled tires and rammed soil, or loving kindness meditation. You, the one who knows the Islamic call to prayer, climb this minaret and call us all to prayer. You, the one who knows how to sit quietly at the bedside of the dying, show us the way to bear witness. You, the one who knows how to get us to wake up to the shadow of privilege, please wake us the F up. She wrote that. It will be chaotic, all this community building, but your cooperation will save the world. Besides, it will be fun. So that is why we are here in this community.
Yes.
That is what we get to do together. I would like, if you're okay with this, I don't know if it's okay. Okay. And thank you for your questions, by the way. I just want to take a moment, and I'm going to invite Shelley to do a prayer, maybe just following this process, if you don't mind. Gosh, I love working with you. Isn't she going to be the best minister on earth?
Second best.
So I would love it if you're willing to close your eyes, or you can gaze down softly if that's more comfortable for you. Those of you at home, close your eyes, just kind of get your wiggles out for a minute. Take a deep breath. And on your breath, I invite you to open your heart space, that heart chakra, that place in the center of your chest where love lives. And I invite you to consider the divine aspects of both the feminine and the masculine. The divine aspects of the feminine, the mercy and nurturing and inclusivity and community building and heart-centeredness. The divine aspects of the sacred masculine, the logic, assertiveness, getting things done, healthy boundaries, transcendence, action. I would love for you in this moment to gently just ask yourself, what of these qualities can I call forth into my life in a greater way? Perhaps you have an opportunity to lean into the experience of more nurturing, of softness, maybe of more assertiveness. Whatever that is for you, I invite you to just gently notice what within you, what of these qualities you have the opportunity to grow. And just allow this to be within you. Allow whatever quality that is that's coming up for you to be amplified in this moment. Taking in another deep breath. What a blessing to bring awareness to this quality, recognizing that as you move forward this week, embracing this particular quality, you are bringing into alignment a greater experience of your own wholeness, of your own balance, and of divine alignment within your being. And so it is from this place of grace and wholeness and groundedness that I invite Shelley into our blessing.
And so, as I invite the practitioners to come forward, we take this moment allowing this breath to anchor in this beautiful day, this recognition that there is so much good to be included, to be blessed. And so I am so grateful for all that we have been about this day. I am so grateful for the love that has paved the way for this conversation about the healthy dynamics between the healthy masculine and the healthy feminine. My God, for each of us who are willing to let go of all that no longer serves, to let go of anything that looks like toxicity, to let go of anything that looks like fear, to let go of anything that looks like manipulation. Whatever it is of those old ways, we honor the good, we keep the good, my God. And we invite the transformation. We invite the yes to the beautiful, healthy, divine masculine and sacred feminine. To allow it to have its way in our lives in ways that are healthy. Healthy for us, healthy for our bodies, healthy for our relationships, and healthy for our planet. And in this health, I know that divine love clears the way. And so for all of this activity of spirit this day, I am so deeply grateful for every place on this planet this day who is gathered to learn more, to celebrate more of this love that is way, this love that is peace, this love that is divine. We celebrate for every place on our planet this day, for every place that is experiencing pain, for every person that is experiencing pain in whatever way. I know this love is right there too. And I celebrate the courage of each of us that says, I pray for these places and I walk this truth. I do the thing that is mine to do. And so for all of this and more, I'm deeply and profoundly grateful, and we let it be. Blessed, blessed be. And so it is. Blessed be. Blessed be. Reverend Shannon.
Thank you, Shelley Walker.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's all take a deep breath. Kind of different, huh? Yeah? Yeah, just mixing it up a little bit. Greg's like, what? Yeah. So this is our time for our affirmative giving, for an opportunity to pay it forward. And so as you're taking out your gifts, just know that we give 10% of everything that is shared here and online to organizations that are living our values out into the world. Your gift supports every single thing we're doing here, and we do a lot. We do a lot. So I want to thank you for your gifts. I want to let you know if you're new to this, you can text to give. If that works for you, you can go online. Thank you for those of you who mail in your gifts. Those of us who are monthly pledgers, we have one of these cards. I just give monthly. It comes out automatically. So thank you for all of it. I'm so deeply grateful. So with that, let us say our blessing. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Blessed be. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Shannon. Before we kick off this next number, I would like to acknowledge our musicians. It is a real pleasure and honor to be in music ministry with you all. So I would like to acknowledge Brandon Hetu, Dennis Dove, Angie Spinelli, Adrian Martin, Kate Kuipers, and Faith Walker. You guys are awesome. Sisters, now is the time to get up and get on the floor, dance to the music. We found the joy and the light that we've been searching for, 'cause it's a party, interplanetary party. Yes, it is. Come with us, it's a party, interplanetary party. Oh, yeah. Just imagine living in a place where we can live as one. Faith and trust in life without borders, peace for everyone. Calling out to all of God's children, 'cause we need to understand war has never been a solution. Let's embrace our fellow man. To let the hot water wash out poverty, reaching out to all of the nations. We must understand problems disappear when we give with unselfish hands. 'Cause it's a party, interplanetary party. Yes, it is all people, so it's a party. Now more than ever, Christian, Buddhist, Hebrew, Islam, Thank you.
Woo! All right, I have just a few quick announcements. Some of these are for local folks and some of these are for everybody, so y'all stay tuned for a moment. You are invited to a Seder dinner hosted by Joan Lubar and Alan Israel. You will learn about and experience this rich Jewish Passover tradition as Joan and Alan explain the meaning of the items on the Seder plate. The dinner following will be a potluck. So you can pick up a flyer on the info table or go to the website for details and make sure you sign up for this really special social connection. And if you would like to honor someone on Easter, you're invited to bring an Easter lily in resemblance to adorn the platform this morning. And if you watch online or if you're unable to shop, just go to our website and there's a link to a form where you can donate and our staff will purchase the lilies for you. So make sure you have your Easter lily ready for Easter. We have a very special event coming up, an evening with Matt Kahn, Returning to Love. So who is Matt Kahn? He's a spiritual teacher, a highly attuned empathetic healer, a powerful motivational speaker, and a captivating author. His mission is to enrich people's lives by providing heart-centered solutions that ignite, delight, and unite. General admission tickets are going to go on sale soon. We're also going to have an online sale happening. So save the date. This is happening Friday, May 12th at 7 p.m. And Matt has a huge following here in Portland. And so we're going to want to purchase our tickets early. They're going to be available to the general public. And we are announcing today, I am thrilled to announce the grand reopening of the Reverend Dr. Noel McGinnis Lending Library, which is, I know. We love you, Reverend Noel. The library is downstairs next to the social hall, and there's a large selection of spiritual topics there. You're welcome to borrow any book and check out Reverend Noel's library today. Reverend Shannon.
Oh, I love that. And yes, we love you, Rev Noel. So I'm going to invite the practitioners to come on down. If you would, know that they are here after service to pray with you. And all the way that this looks is if there's something on your heart, you just come up to them and say, you know, this thing is on my heart, here's what it is. And they take over from there. They will pray and they will affirm, and you will leave feeling uplifted and experiencing that healing energy that we talked about earlier. Those of you online, we have practitioners that are moderating the service there, and the information's in the chat box. If you would like prayer, there is a private Zoom room for you, and you can just be in the queue for that, and you can also meet with a practitioner. So thank you, you beloved practitioners. Can we just give them a round of love? They really serve us so beautifully. So beautifully. I want to thank all of you who came here, who made the commitment to be here this morning in community. And those of you online in community are watching today from Colorado, California, Florida, Oregon, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, and Germany. Oh, thank you for being in community with all of us. And with that, my dearest Shelley, would you join me in our closing blessing? I invite you all to stand as you are able. May you go in the light, as the light, and with the light, until we meet again. May the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way. You are loved. Mwah.
I release and I let go.